Hey, hello and welcome. This is Summer Piha from the Conscious.Classroom Certification Model. Check us out at cccmodel.com. You're listening to Let's Talk ECE, the place on the internet where we talk tips, tricks, and perspective shifts related to all things early childhood. Join Summer and Rachel in their mindset shifting discussions on common topics in the early childhood world. You'll hear real stories from their time working together as an owner-director pair and how they learn to see things from each other's perspectives over the years, so you can learn how to openly discuss these viewpoints and find common ground within your leadership team. Hello and welcome back to Let's Talk ECE. I'm Summer.
And I'm Rachel.
Today, we're going to talk about words. Words are incredibly powerful. And often we don't put enough conscious thought into the words we say and surround ourselves with. Because words can shift moods, perspectives, and how we look at the world.
Yeah. And when we're talking about this, there have been experiments that prove just how influential words are. And one of them, so it's called a priming experiment. And a couple of examples of this are they had people go in and pull out, they had all of these jumbled words, jumbled sentences. And they had people go in there and say, like, we're going to time how long it takes you to unjumble these sentences. And of course, they're scientists, so whatever they tell you is not what they're experimenting on. Let's be real. So they had words. It was like all these words. The sentences contained words like sunshine, golfing, Florida. And what they were actually seeing was when people walked in, what was the speed they walked down the hallway? And when people left, what was the speed that they were walking down the hallway? All of the words in there were words that would make you think of, or most people would think of, old people. And so when they left after doing this experiment, they walked significantly slower.
Okay.
Which is super interesting, right? And then they redid this experiment in another way where they were priming people to behave in a specific manner, right? That's why it's called a priming experiment. And in one scenario, they were sitting there and they made these people work in groups to unjumble these sentences again. But the words that were in the one group was like competitive and really intense words. And in the other one, it was words like collaboration, joyfulness, like peaceful words that would encourage people to work together. And in the group A, where it was, competition, they started getting in arguments within 30 seconds of starting this. So they were like, okay, well, how long is it going to take the other group? And the other group never started having an argument. They just did it all together and worked together and left peacefully. And it was all because, regardless of the activity that they were doing, those words were impactful to their life. Like they were that impactful.
That's absolutely incredible. So realistically, words can shape the way we show up as leaders, right?
Mm-hmm. And
this is crazy.
It is. And the way we show up as leaders, but also the way our staff show up for us based on the words that we're choosing, right?
Ooh.
I think that's a really big one for me.
Wow. That's amazing, Rachel. That's absolutely amazing. Okay, before we go any further, I want to do an unofficial sponsor because I feel like we're going to start talking and we're going to forget. So unofficial sponsor time. Now, our unofficial sponsor, we don't get paid for this. These are just amazing products that we found and we want to share with you, our listeners. So Rachel, take it away. What's your product?
So I think we have been on this like self-care a little bit because last week was the Shakti mat, which is amazing. Mine is a thing that I just got and it's called the Rest Cloud Neck and Shoulder Relaxer. And it's this weird, like, I don't know how to explain the shape. I'll put the link in. But it just helps stretch out your neck. It helps with TMJ. It is amazing. So if you hold like all of your stress in your shoulders and neck like I do, amazing. Awesome. It's like $20.
So good. So good. I love that we can pass on these self-care items to the listeners because I know a lot of us forget to take care of ourselves. Mm-hmm. So good. So
absolutely.
Good. Okay, back to language, back to words.
Yes.
Now, Okay, I'm going to ask a couple questions here, Rachel. What is one word that when you hear it, it invigorates you? Like it just jazzes you up, you're ready to go.
Right now, I would have to say that word, and it's been for like a, a little bit now, is the word harmony. I really figured out that that was like
I
one
like that.
kind of my superpower is to find harmony in other people's thoughts and also to realize like, can I find harmony in this situation? And if I can't find harmony, if there's too much dissonance, it's something I need to let go of. Like I
Oh,
need to just let go of it.
I
Harmony
love
can't
that.
happen. So that word really invigorates me.
Okay. What is one word that when you hear it, it shuts you down?
Interesting.
Yes.
I hate the word interesting. I hate it so much. And if you've worked with Summer and I, you know how much I dislike this word. So when I was younger, I was a drama kid. So I was in one act. And when we go to competitions, they weren't allowed to tell us that we were bad, right?
Yes.
But they could say, oh, that was an interesting performance. And like as soon as they said that, you knew everything. They were just going to tear you apart in the nicest way possible. Like it was the most Minnesota passive aggressive thing to exist on the planet. But that really stuck with me. And Summer, I don't know if you remember when I came to you with a full proposal, right? Where I was like, here's this whole idea that I have for the school. And I was director at the time and I was so excited. And she looks through it, she's like skimming through and goes, oh, that's really interesting. And I was like, okay, cool. So I took it back and then I left and I threw it in the garbage because I was like, she said it was interesting. She hates my idea and doesn't think I'm smart and it's never going to go anywhere. And then a couple of weeks later, you came up and like, okay, so got some of these other things down. We now have the capacity to work on this next project. So what are you thinking as far as a timeline? And I was like, oh, you said it was interesting. So it's in the garbage.
Okay, so think of that miscommunication because to me, like interesting means I want more information. Like I'm like, cool, let's learn more about it. Let's do it. Put it on the calendar, right? Like this is good.
Yeah.
How many times do we do this with our staff or with parents?
Right.
Where you never know what somebody's words are going to be. Like what word inspires people, but then what word also just shuts them down. And so now that I know that about you, if I use the word interesting, because I actually find I use it a lot. And so if I use that word, then I can always follow it up with like a Slack message or an email saying like, hey, what I noticed I said the word interesting. What I meant by that was like, cool, good, let's do it. Let's run with it. Right. Yeah. But thinking about that in terms of communicating with other people, yeah. Are there words that you notice that people bristle when you say them? Are there words you can use that pump people up to get them inspired to show up and work and play full out, like do the thing? And that's just something to think about.
It is. And just practicing, I think that active listening too, on being able to notice people's body language, because it will shift, right? So I went from being like, here's this, like, oh, this is interesting. Oh, I just hit the table. Oh, this is interesting. To being like, thanks.
Yeah.
Right. And I know you have a word that you don't like either that I think is a lot of people don't, that I would love to talk about, that you should talk about right now.
My word is should. Whenever somebody tells me what I should be doing, it shut down. Or I don't know, shut down is really what it is, but I get annoyed. Yeah. And then I almost want to like push back on them. Right. So it causes some emotion in me. Yeah. And where this comes from is starting a school is really hard. I don't know how many of you out there have started a school or opened a second location or opened new classrooms. Either way, whenever you have an idea in your brain and you have to get the idea out of your brain and then teach other people to do it, that's hard. That's really hard. And so we were opening our very first location, and it was a teeny tiny little one-room schoolhouse. I loved it. And it was hard. There were so many hurdles, so many mountains we had to climb, with the city code and licensing and running out of money and just so many things.
Yeah.
And we finally got to the place where we were having our first open house. And my business partner's brother came in. And this day, you guys, it wasn't, let me paint this picture. It was not like this beautiful sunny birds are chirping. It was cloudy and raining. Kind of fitting, right? But it was cloudy and raining. And this was the first time that we had that kind of weather. So we didn't know. And our building it was a standalone building, but it was a storefront. So the whole, all the windows were in the front. And then it had previously been a salon. So it had salon lighting. And my business partner's brother walks in and he looks around. And the first thing he said was, "Do you think you should rethink the lighting in here?" And it like cut us off at the knees. We were just, we had climbed all these mountains, like conquered every hurdle. And then to have that be the first piece of feedback, it just was like a knife through our hearts. And so anytime I hear the word should, it takes me back to that emotion. And I know better, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, so I know if somebody comes to me and says, "Oh, you should do this," or my kids or my husband, or, I know that they're not attacking me.
Yeah.
My mind knows that, but I still feel it in my heart.
Yeah. And sometimes you have to take that step back and just recognize, like, okay, I'm having these feelings. Let me process what's actually being said. And I think what I really love about your word too, and it being should, is a lot of people get caught up in that. In one, they don't like it. And in two, they get caught up on saying it, right? Because negativity is a thing. And a lot of people, I think it's interesting to me how many people connect through negativity. Like that's such an integral part of their relationships and how they build relationships with their peers or with, coworkers, whatever.
Negativity and sarcasm. I'm going to throw that in there too.
Yeah.
Negativity and sarcasm, because sarcasm is a language I don't speak.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting.
It is really
interesting. See, it's interesting. But no, okay. So go back to that negativity piece. Yeah. You were just at, what was it?
I was at a wedding
recently.
Yeah. And it was really interesting because I called Summer on my way back. I was like, man, I'm exhausted from this wedding. And it was a beautiful day. It was a beautiful wedding. It wasn't, was a little bit of a part of it, but not some massive part where I had to be running around all day. I was like, but I'm exhausted and I don't know why. And I was talking through it and I realized the reason I was so exhausted was because most of the people, all of the people realistically that I interacted with were connecting through negativity. Like they were like, "Oh my gosh, haven't seen you in so long." And then started complaining about the prices of the beverages and the heat and the this and the that and everything where they were having communication with each other was all based on negativity. We're there for a wedding. We're there for people to celebrate love. Like I love love. So I was so excited and so happy and everything was amazing. And I'll pay $14 for my stupid one glass of wine, whatever. It doesn't matter. Because it's so exciting to be there. But there was this culture of connecting through negativity. And sometimes we see that in like programs and staff where that's like the culture of how people connect too. And
okay, so here's a big self-reflection piece. I want you to think about this. Is your program's culture to connect through negativity? Or gossip. Negativity, gossip, sarcasm, enter any word right there.
Yeah.
But then how do you shift that to be a place where people feel invigorated?
Yeah. And how much of that does come from being a leader, right? Like absolutely. I know there are times as a director, I would come to you and be like, here are all the things I'm going to complain about. And you don't come out with like, you can acknowledge things, right? We're not doing toxic positivity where we're like, but you found the job, everything is great. You can acknowledge them and work through reframing and come to the table with positives too. I think that was a really big shift, and it really helped me shift my mindset. I definitely used to be somebody that got caught in negatives really easily. Like I would get drawn into that. So
No, you guys, I think if you're seeing that this is a struggle or something similar, right, is a struggle in your program, feel free to reach out to us, set up a call. I think it's so much easier for someone on the outside to come in and be able to pinpoint and say, hey, I think this is going on. Because sometimes when you're in it, you don't even notice that it's happening.
No.
And I find when I get stressed, that's when I go there. Or when I get stressed, that's when I want to like dip into the gossip, right? That's when I'm like, just tell me something about somebody else because I don't want to think about my own stuff, right? And so having somebody from the outside coming in to pinpoint this could be really helpful. So give us a call. Let's see how we can support you.
I love that. And I'll put the calendar link in there. You can push like call with Summer, talk about some of these things because it is so important. How many programs have we worked with where their culture shifted dramatically because we just came in and pointed out like, your culture is around gossip. Your culture is around negativity. Your culture is a culture of blame where everybody's just shifting blame.
Absolutely. Right? And it's easier to talk through it with a safe person, right? I don't have a vested interest. So we can have these open and honest conversations. I think having a safe space to do that, right? And I hope that as an owner, I provided that to you.
You did. Absolutely.
Sometimes I'm sure there were days, but I'm hoping overarchingly there were more good days than bad. And so to really get real with yourself, whatever position you hold, if you're an owner, if you're a director, really take some time to put this conscious thought into
how you're
words and how you're showing up.
I love that.
So you guys, today's been a great discussion. And as you move into a new week, I hope you're really mindful of your words. Think about words of other people, songs we choose to surround ourselves with, social media, things like that, and words we say to ourselves. So that's what we have for you today. We would love to hear your comments. So leave a comment, like, and subscribe.